Well, hello and welcome back to another video. Now this afternoon I've come out to do a bit of wrasse fishing with lures. I've got a few hours free this afternoon. I've just finished work. We've got a turning tide, so low tide was about an hour and a half ago, so it's on the flood now. Should be a good time to target some wrasse on a flooding tide. Fairly calm and settled weather, pretty clear water, so yeah, hopefully we can find a few. Now I'm just using my normal spinning rod, 9-foot Shimano Airnos 7 to 35 gram rod, and on here I've got a texasrig, which is just a 20-pound fluorocarbon down to a size 1, little worm hook there, and a 9-gram bullet weight. I've got a few little soft tail, paddle tail soft plastics with me, so I'll probably start with a paddle tail and see how I get on. But yeah, just got down here, just getting set up, so I'm going to get a lure onto the rod and then get it in the water, and hopefully we can find some fish. So I think I'm going to start with a little white paddle tail there, tiny little 2.5 inch. I think I'll go with that one at first. Got a sand eel, got a few others in my bag as well, but we'll give that a go and see how we get on. So this is the rig here, and very simply I'm just going to thread that through. Line it up and then through the lure just like that. And then I've just put the end of the hook into the lure there, so as you can see, if it brushes over any weed, it's just going to go over the top of the lure like that and avoid getting snagged. So that's our rig ready to go. Let's see if we can find some wrasse. So this is the type of ground I'm going to start off fishing first. Now what I'm going to do is give it a few casts here, and then there's some rocks just over in that direction, which before the tide floods up too quickly and cuts them off, I might run over there and fish that side and then come back here after. But just to give you an idea, it's all boulders. Further out there's a lot of kelp and a lot of weed. It's all rough ground, very shallow close in, probably ranging from 4 to 6 feet a bit further out. But ideal ground for wrasse fishing. Let's just hope there's some around. So let's get out there for the first cast. It's going to tighten that drag really tight. Now with it being rough ground, reason for tight drag is so you can't let the fish take any line off you, because it will snag you up really quickly. Now it's good just to have a bit of a play around at first. Let the lure sink, try and figure out exactly how shallow it is. You'll feel the lure bouncing off rocks and hitting everything that's under the surface. But there's no quite mistaking the take of a wrasse. It can be very aggressive and very fast, so as soon as you feel any form of bite, just get ready to lift into it. Now I've just moved along to some deeper water. Fish this bit before it gets cut off. Now it's all really good ground around here for wrasse, and you will come across the odd monster. Just got to stay in contact with that lure as much as possible. It's only being a little lure and little 9-gram weight, it will get taken in the tide. Well, I've just had a little wrasse follow it in. Only a very small one though, literally about ½ a pound. That tide's flooding in pretty quickly. Hopefully with a flooding tide, we'll get some wrasse on the feed. Boom, there we go. Wasn't sure if I had the camera on then, but I felt that one hit and then I saw it go for it. There we have our first wrasse. There we go, first wrasse of the day. Only a small one. Beautiful golden brown colours. I'll get you a better look, I'll get the other camera on. So that's our first wrasse of the day. Now I can't believe how fast that tide's coming in. There we go. Just a small one there, but still. First wrasse of the trip. Taking on that bright white lure. Only a pound. But a good little start. Now I might have to move because like I said, that tide's really whipping in. So let's just deal with this guy. There's the hook out, nice and easy. Luckily he's not damaged my lure. First wrasse of the day, let's get him back in the water. So I've literally just unhooked that fish and I thought I'd turn around to check the tide. And that's how fast it comes up. This was all completely dried out. I've had no more than 8 or 10 casts. So because I've only got wellies on, I'm going to cross it now. Because in about 5 minutes, that's going to be waist deep. So I've come back to where I started now. It's really unbelievable how fast that tide really whips in. I've been here 20 minutes, literally been fishing 20 minutes. And yeah, the rate it's moving is really quite surprising. It's a fairly big tide. So I've come back to the first bit I was on. This is also getting cut off as we speak. There's one boulder you can step on to hop across. And if you wait too long and that boulder's completely submerged, it's about neck deep. So yeah, I'm going to be here for maybe 15 minutes and then I think I'll probably move along the bay and just see how it goes as that tide's coming up. So I'll give it a few casts from here and we'll see if we can get any more. Now it's always worth retrieving the lure right to your feet. You can be tempted to speed it up and quickly get another cast out there, but the amount of times you'll see wrasse that have followed it, and especially like today where the water's crystal clear, it's the same thing that happened with me on the first one. They'll follow it right in close and then they'll pounce. So it's good not to rush the retrieve on the final few meters. Well, that's when you can tell you've been hit by a wrasse. And they end up smashing up your lures. So as you would have just seen, I've just lost my first lure of the day. Now one fortunate thing is, however, this is the same rod I use for all of my bass fishing. So on here I've got a Shimano 4000 reel loaded with 26-pound Daiwa J-braid. Now when it comes to fishing for wrasse, it can be handy to use a heavier braid because just like then I've just got snagged, but I've pulled the rod with force. And where the line has snapped was right at the end of my lure. So I've still got my leader, the fluorocarbon, and then the little swivel just there attached to the braid. So it can pay to use heavier braid to be able to pull out of a snag. You're going to lose a lot less line. You're still going to lose your lure every now and then, but at least you get the rest back. It's all money, tackle all costs money. But the most important thing is you're not losing line on your reel. So welcome back. It's the next day and I've decided to continue my quest for a wrasse. Now yesterday didn't really go as I planned. I was fishing that mark. As the tide was flooding in, I was getting pushed back off the rocks. Now I had a few hits from some smaller wrasse, but apart from that, nothing else really happened. I continued to fish for the next sort of hour and a half, and it really wasn't that productive, so I decided to knock it on the head, and I've continued it today. Now we got a big change in weather today. It is pretty flat here, however we've got a really strong northeasterly wind. It's about 4-6 at the moment, and it's only meant to get worse. So I've come along to the west coast today. I've got a bit of shelter where I am. I should have the wind behind me. It's low tide. The tide's going to be turning pretty soon, so I'm going to fish the tide up for the next hour or so and see if we can find any wrasse. Same methods as yesterday. I've got Texas rig, same lures, everything's the same. So we'll see how we get on. Hopefully we can find a few. Yeah, I was hoping yesterday would be a bit more productive than what it was, but let's hope we make up for it today. So let's get a lure in the water. Now I've got the full finger woolly gloves on today because it really is that cold. It's quite bitter, that wind, with it being a northeasterly. So let's hope today goes a bit more better than yesterday did. Fishing over similar ground. Got big patches of sand, lots of kelp, weed beds. So all we can do is hope there's a few wrasse lurking in between all that weed. Hopefully as the tide floods for the first hour or so, we'll get some fish on the feed. It can be quite difficult fishing when the wind is this strong. You get a lot of slack line, and obviously it's not great for casting. It can really be quite tough work sometimes. So you can probably tell today is probably not the best day to be wrasse fishing. There's sleet which has just started falling. I don't know if you can see it on there. So it's just started to hail / snow. It's really not the nicest of days. You've got blue sky over there, but the blue sky doesn't last long. It's followed by that. But let's see if we can pick out a fish. I just had my first little nibble over that rough ground right in front of me. Only a small fish. You've just got to be patient with the smaller ones. Let them take the hook. It can be very tempting to strike, but 9 times out of 10 you'll end up just missing it. Little wrasse there. I can feel him tapping at it. Let's just get up out of the water. Well, he's only very lightly hooked. But there we go. One lovely Ballan Wrasse. Same colours and pretty much same size as yesterday, and you can see how very lightly hooked it is there. But at least we got a fish. You cracker. Right then, buddy. Get that hook out of you. Very lightly hooked. Another little Ballan Wrasse there. Hopefully there's a few more going to come onto the feed now. Now that was the first cast with a different colour lure, so whether that made a difference or if it was just moving, I'm not too sure. But what a beautiful fish. So did a different colour lure make the difference then? Or was it just me moving further along? That was the first cast with this little blue soft plastic. It's got little flecks of glitter in it. With it being a big tide, it is going to whip in very quickly. You gotta love the scrap from a wrasse. That fish only weighed about a pound, but they certainly put a bend in the rod. And because you're fishing in rough ground and very close to the bottom, you get a good fight off them. You got to get them all the way up. It's not like you're hooking a fish near the surface. So can we find any more? Now, I'm not too fussed about the size of them today. I do have a 6-pound wrasse on my target list for this year. Anything 6 pound or over, but today I'll be happy just catching smaller ones. Always that chance of a big one lurking though, especially around here. Well, we got a little scrapper here. There we go. There's another little wrasse. Just been moving along the rocks as that tide's coming up, and we've hooked into another one. Beautiful. There we are. Similar size to the last one. Absolutely inhaled the lure this time. Lovely little camo, army camo wrasse. Good little scrap on it. Can't beat it. So hooked nicely. Come out easy enough. So that's wrasse number 2. Another little one, beautiful colours, beautiful markings on it, but let's get it back into the water. Off you go, mate. So that time has absolutely flown by. Now the tide is whipping in really quickly. You won't notice it too much here, but up in the bay in the distance there, all of that was dried out when I was walking down. It's nearly up to that little pier now, so it's going to be time to leave very soon. It's been difficult work in that wind. The wind is so strong. It's really, not made things easy at all. But at least we got a couple of small wrasse, which is better than nothing, that's for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a few more casts here, and then I'm going to head up further towards the shore there. I'll give it a few flicks up that side as well. And then I'll call it a day. So I'm just going to give it a couple more casts here. I'm not going to stay too long, so I don't want to get caught out. That gave a good little scrap, that wrasse. I love it when they take a couple of dives and a few lunges, puts a nice bend in the rod. And all I was doing then, just flicking the lure out parallel with these rocks here, letting it sink to the bottom, because all the weed is close in. Further out is just sand, and then I was just popping it through all this kelp, hoping that something would come out of its hole and pounce. it is on. Yes! What a take that was. Look at that. This is a bigger wrasse as well. It's a nicer size. Oh, come here, don't get wrapped up in that. Let's guide him in. That was a crazy take. Look at this beauty. This is a nice sized wrasse. Whoa. That's a chunk, that one. That was an unbelievable take. Now I'll just get out of the water and get you a better show. Quality. Well, I had a feeling that the turn of the tide would get the fish on the feed, and this one is an absolute beauty. Look at the size of that. Big paddle tail, big belly. I'd say that was pushing 3.5 pounds. That's the best one of the day. Let's get it unhooked and back in the water. Well, this one came out of nowhere and absolutely smashed that lure close in. I could see it following it, and it looked a lot smaller in the water, so I just left the lure and let it dangle, and it took right at my feet. But look at that for a wrasse. That's a beauty, that. Beautiful markings and a cracking fish. What a stunker. That's a fine fish. An absolutely fine fish. So I think on that note I'm going to call it a day. It's turned out to be a pretty fun session, made all the more better by that nicer wrasse right at the end. The wind is still absolutely howling, that tide's flooding in. Now there's just a couple of gullies further up, so I don't want to get caught out and get cut off by them. I think I'm fine for now, but I think I'll leave it there for today. My battery's getting a bit low on the camera. We've had a few fish, so it's all been worth it. I might have a couple of casts as I'm walking up the beach, so if I do and anything else happens, I'll put the camera back on. But yeah, that was a fun little session, lure fishing for wrasse on the trusty Texas rig. Now maybe it paid to change the lure colour before, or maybe the fish just came on the feed with the turn of the tide, we'll never know. But it's been brilliant fun, so thanks very much for watching. I'm going to be out and about over the next few weeks doing more fishing for wrasse and bass and anything else I can catch. So thanks once again, and I'll see you on the next one.